Hello everyone, welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Todd. Todd is from Colorado in the USA. So let's see what Todd has to say. Enjoy the interview. So how are you, Todd? Are you okay?
I'm good. It's Friday.
Oh, feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah, Friday. This was one of those weeks that really makes you appreciate Friday. you know. Uh, so just a few more hours of work and then we're good.
Thank you so much for taking the time today for the interview. Thank you. Appreciate.
Thank you for asking me. I think this will be fun.
Amazing. Todd, tell me where you're from.
Well, so right now, I mean, the last almost 4 years, 3.5 years, almost 4 years, I've lived in Colorado, but I'm originally from Maine. Um, so I'm from the far north of the US.
Actually, I had a lovely guest from Maine on the show a few months ago or last year. I don't remember. It was a lovely guy. And why they changed from Maine to Colorado?
Well, this wasn't really the plan. I have just kind of moved around a lot, whatever, for whatever circumstances or choices I've made in my life. I've lived in quite a few different places across the US. So I just this is the latest. This is the latest,
And do you plan to stay there for a long while?
Well, I don't know as this is going to be like the complete long-term place. I mean, I own my house here and everything like that, and I love my house and my, my dogs love it here. And so for now, this is home base. But I don't think it's going to go, it's not going to be super long-term. I'm getting sick of the cold again. I'm getting sick of the winters again.
And the weather in Maine is quite similar to Colorado, or not? It's different.
Somewhat. I mean, I guess if you're not from an area where you get like all 4 seasons and it snows and it gets cold and stuff, then it can just really and if you're, on the outside looking in, yeah, it looks exactly the same. But it's a bit different. I mean, Maine winters are a lot more brutal than Colorado winters. I will say that. Maine winters are, growing up, I mean, they were quite brutal. Yeah, here they're not as bad, but my tolerance for the cold has just, as I've gotten older, I'm like, oh, okay, we're done with this. So.
Amazing. Todd, tell me, what do you do for work, for living?
So I'm an account executive for a company called VS Media, and what that entails is that, I mean, the media company, this company that I work for, owns a lot of properties within the adult industry, so porn, basically. The company that I work for, the umbrella company, like they own like X videos and XNXX and all these different big, porn sites and properties. And I do a lot of, marketing, advertising, partnerships. I bring on a lot of different partners for those reasons, for advertising. I have to travel a lot for work, not a lot, but, like my job lets me travel in different places all over the world, and I love it, and it's honestly the greatest industry I've ever worked in. So
amazing. Very good. Right, so during the journey, I'm going to explore a little bit more about yourself, about your work and your point of views. Okay
Okay.
Before we start our journey, William the Magic Box, would you like to tell me something interesting about yourself?
Oh, there's nothing interesting about me. This is always one of those really hard questions. I guess one of the things that people don't really know or that might be interesting is like I'm kind of a geek. I'm kind of a, which is not a bad thing. I mean, I don't want it to come across as like that's a derogatory term, but I'm a nerd. You know, like I love my comic books. I love my like all that kind of stuff. My boyfriend and I do cosplay, and go to like Comic Cons and stuff. I actually did my first cosplay. He got me to do my first cosplay thing at WonderCon just a few weeks ago, and where we made our costumes and all of that. So I guess that, you know, currently that's probably the most interesting thing about me. You know, other than, you know, outside of that, I'm an amateur bodybuilder and compete and, you know, do that kind of stuff too. So I'm busy.
It's amazing. It's good to be busy. It gets ourselves out of trouble, and it's good for our mental health as well. It's good.
Yeah.
Todd, are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories in life and to share your point of views? Amazing. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. So this is my best friend. Flow from the fun questions. I'm just gonna play a song now, just for us to relax a bit before the first question, okay?
Okay.
Let's do it. Amazing. Okay, Todd, before we start the game, during the journey, if it comes up a question that you don't want to talk about for some reason, you don't want to answer, always can change, okay?
Okay.
First question for you is, what is the most beautiful thing someone has ever said to you?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one. Honestly, I can't pinpoint like something like a direct quote unless I go through like my old text or something like that. But I gotta say, my partner says some pretty awesome to me. That oh, sorry, I don't even know if I'm allowed to swear on here, but sometimes that stuff comes out.
Don't worry, I'm gonna put a
I have to apologize in advance for that, by the way.
It's okay.
But yeah, I mean, the most beautiful thing somebody's ever said to me, I guess, would be, you know, from him. It's you know, he's really good at reminding me how much he loves me, you know.
Wow.
So I can go, I mean, I could go through all kinds of texts and then I wouldn't be able to decide on which one was the most beautiful thing he's ever said to me. So
how long you guys been together for?
We've known each other for quite a long time, and we ended up just unexpectedly like running into each other on a work trip to Vegas at the beginning of the year, and we've been together ever since.
Wow.
So it's yeah, it's pretty awesome. You know, it's like the most healthy relationship I've ever had.
Wow. Amazing. Very good. Next question. Hey, Todd from Colorado. Next question is, who are you most thankful for and why?
I have got to say that I am most thankful for my best friend, Hassan. He lives in Los Angeles. We met, God, 13 years ago. He was my first friend when I moved to LA, and we just, I mean, he's the absolute, like, the most important person I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
I wouldn't have made it this far without him.
My goodness. And he still lives in LA?
Yep. Just talked to him last night. We do our phone calls every couple of weeks to make sure that we're, you know, keeping track of each other and make sure we're updated on each other's lives. And, you know, because, you know, with distance, with a lot of the people that I care about, you know, it takes work to maintain that stuff. And even with my, you know, with my partner, we're long distance as well. So it's like, it's like another full-time job trying to maintain these long distance relationships. So, but I will say,
Don't
yeah,
understand.
my best friend Hassan has really, you know, been the most important person in my life.
I can see him watching the interview right now and smiling.
Is he watching? Wait, is this live?
No, of course not, but I'm sure he will in the future. Next question. Todd, before the next question, tell me what do you like the most about your job? What's the most rewarding part of it? And the flip side, what's the most challenging part?
Okay, so this is a good one. This is an easy one. The most rewarding part of my job, and the thing that I love the most about it, is that I do get to travel the world. You know, we get to go to these different places, different conventions, and I get to meet people from all over and make friends from all over. And, you know, like, it really is like the most rewarding thing to be able to be like, oh, well, you know what? We have to go to that convention in Prague later this year. And I know everyone I'm going to see there. And I know that I get to catch up with all these people that I'm, you know, in contact with throughout the year, but they're from all over the world. And it's just, you know, you get immersed in this industry, you know, because we're all in the adult industry, you know, working the corporate side of the adult industry. And it's a very laid back industry. Like the kind of personalities that are in it, it's like, you know, at this point, we've seen it all. At this point, we've seen it all. We're desensitized. Nothing offends us. Nothing, you know, like, and it's just a cool crowd of people to have in my life, and to know that I can go anywhere in the world and make a phone call and somebody will meet me for coffee or what, you know, like that's the really rewarding part. On the flip side, the opposite, that I honestly would say that the flip side of that is really self-induced by myself, because I put myself under a lot of pressure with everything that I do. I'm a perfectionist. I'm, you know, like I want to make sure that I perform at 100% at all times. And that's, you know, even though I don't get that pressure put on me from my superiors, from my company or whatever, I do that to myself. And that can be hard at times because I have a problem with having high expectations and sometimes I can't even meet my own expectations. So it ends up being, you know, there are days where the anxiety that comes from that can be almost paralyzing, you know? And so I would say that that's probably the drawback. And it's not just from this job, this career. It's from literally every job I've ever had. I do this to myself. So, yeah.
Oh, all right. Next question for you is, what is the most dramatic argument you ever had?
Oh my God. Oh God. I'm almost 42 years old. I've had a lot of arguments. Dramatic one. Well, God, I would have to say growing up with, you know, I'm the youngest of three boys, and my middle brother and I were very close in age. Growing up, we were about a year apart. I guess they started out as arguments. But there was a few times where, you know, a lot of times where it got further than that. And then my dad would come home and there's like blood all over the walls and like all over the furniture, and I'm bleeding and he's bleeding, you know.
Oh.
So, I mean, I guess that's pretty dramatic, right?
Oh my God, yes. You are the youngest or the oldest?
I'm the youngest. I'm a baby.
I see. Very good. And your two brothers, they are back in Maine?
No, I have. So my middle brother lives in Massachusetts, outside of Boston, and my oldest brother and his family live in a small town in Pennsylvania.
See. All right. Next question. Let's do it. Next question is, what have you learned during the first lockdown when the world went upside down? like 2 years ago regarding the COVID crisis. Tell me something positive or a lesson that you've learned out of that, challenge journey.
That's another tough one. I mean, I know one thing that I learned was just never to trust the government. Never to trust the government. That's that. I think that's my biggest takeaway from all of that. I won't go too far into it because I don't know who watches this stuff and I don't want to offend anybody. But I do want to say that one of the things that I did learn is that you really can't trust the people that are in power. That would be my biggest takeaway from that.
Amazing. And tell me something. Your job, during that time, did you manage to work from home? It affects your work or not? Everything went smoothly.
So at the time, I was when Corona first hit, I had just moved to Colorado. I had only been here a few months. I hadn't made a whole lot of friends yet, so it was a really, really inconvenient time for it to hit. It was really inconvenient time for someone to eat a bat. I was working. I was actually managing a real estate brokerage at the time. I was in real estate at the time. And at first, it was a mandatory, everyone go, nobody can, it was mandatory, like across the board. Everybody has to go home and shut themselves up and whatever. And at the time I had this little 1-bedroom apartment with me and my 2 dogs. And one of my dogs is like over 100 pounds. She's huge. And, so just being there, it's like a really small space to be in at all times. So it was kind of, at some point you're like, am I going insane? Am I actually going insane right now? Like, do I need to go for a drive or something? Like, do I need to get the hell out of here? But I will say that lasted about 2 weeks of working from home. And then it was affecting me so much because I am a social person and I do like to have the separation of my work and my home. Like my home is my sanctuary. My work is my work. I have to work from home, doing my job now, but back then I was not used to it. And I wasn't used to it being forced on me like that. And it was just a really weird time. So what I ended up doing after a couple of weeks and thinking I was going to go insane if I had to work from home any more days, I snuck back into the office. I knew the code to get the key and I snuck back into the office and I was working from the office for like 2 months before anybody actually found out. And then all of a sudden one day my boss came in, he's like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "Oh, I've been here for like 2 months. I've been like, I just needed a different environment, But yeah, that was how it affected me.
Yeah, I think all of us during that time, we faced some challenging because, nobody knew what was happening. Nobody knew what would happen next day. So yeah, it was a time to reflect and to learn a lot of lessons for sure, all of us.
Well, and nobody knew what to believe either.
Yeah,
like we're hearing different things, and it's like I don't trust the media. I don't trust the news or anything like that. I don't watch any of that stuff because it's so fabricated. It's so fabricated by what they want us to believe, like on this side or this side or this side, and it gets too crazy. That was probably the craziest in 42 years of living. That first year, like with that was the crazy. I can't believe that happened. Something like that happened within our lifetime. You just don't think that something like it was just weird. It's still weird to think about that.
Absolutely,
it happened.
Yeah. Thankfully, we are in the better days right now. Thankfully.
Yeah.
Ready for another one?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Next question. Before the next question, tell me how was growing up as a gay boy back in Maine?
So my childhood was, I want to say it was pretty normal, but now when I look at after, you get older and listen to other people's stories of their childhood, I'm like, oh, I guess mine wasn't really that normal. But it was, I will say it was difficult because I knew since I was a kid, I knew since I was like, little. Um, I didn't really know what kind of impact or anything, like that would have on the people around me. At that age, I mean, that was back in the 80s, like 1980s and in the early 90s. And my middle brother is gay too, the one that's, just a year older than me. And he came out when we were freshmen in high school. And that was the mid 90s. And that was a really hard time, especially being in, coming from a small town in Maine where, not everybody is super cultured there. And so, and at the time, all anybody knew, was what they were seeing on the news and stuff. Was like, oh, you're gay. Oh, they're a bunch of, everyone's dying of AIDS and this and that. Like it was a hard time. So there was a lot of fear with the general population towards. There was a lot of fear and misunderstanding and hatred towards our demographic, and my brother came out in the mid 90s when we got into high school, and I watched what he went through, and that terrified me. It was terrifying to see what the kind of stuff he had to deal with. So it affected me in the way that it was like, holy shit, I'm never coming out of the closet. I will, lock the door. I'm staying in, and I ended up not even coming out until I was in my mid 20s. I waited. So, as a kid, like myself being gay didn't really have much of an effect because it was like, I wasn't out. No one knew, but knowing that I was and seeing what was happening to other people was just terrifying. It was insane. And to know that stuff is still happening now and actually has like I feel like we had a period of time where we had so much acceptance and social acceptance and everything, and now I feel like we've gone so far backwards again. I don't know how it really is in the rest of in the UK and stuff, but here in America and the US, it's rough right now, like it's rough to, when it comes to being transgender or, like just holy shit, just doing drag is illegal now in Tennessee. It's a felony, for like your second offense or something. It's insane.
Crazy.
So, but growing up, it was scary. It was scary to know that there was a part of me that people were not going to accept no matter what. It didn't matter what kind of person I was, how nice I was, but there was just a part of me that people were going to hate me just because of something I had no control over.
When your brother came out, before that, did you guys had a talk between both of you, like you're open up to each other or not?
Oh God, no. Oh God, no. When I told you about like the whole like fighting thing, the argument and the dramatic fight, that's pretty much how it always was. Tyler and I didn't really like sit down and have like quality conversations back then.
All right. Next question is, where do you see yourself living when you retire?
Okay. Where do I see myself living when I retire? I know where there's a lot of places I would love to live because I've been to a lot of places. I would love to retire in, God, Thailand was one of my favorite places I've ever been. What an amazing country. And I went to like all parts of it. This was just last fall, and I could see myself retiring in like Phuket, on the beaches of Thailand somewhere. I love Australia too, but they don't let people in very easily. Thailand, they're like, come on, Australia, they're like, no, we're good.
Right, I have 3 questions left for you. Let's do it.
Okay.
Hey, Todd, the next question for you is, if you could spend the entire day with a family member, who that would be and why?
With a family member. Is this one of those dead or alive questions? Can it be dead or alive?
Yeah, could be anyone.
I think I would want to spend a day with my paternal grandmother. She was the first one. She was the first one to go. You know, when the grandparents start to go, and she was the first one to pass away when I was 13. But she was also the most like loving out of all of our grandparents. But she never got to see really she never really got to see the person I became, the person my brothers became, or the people my brothers became. And she was Italian. She was, full-blooded Italian, very Catholic, very, but I can guarantee you, like, the gay thing wouldn't have bothered her. I mean, she would have just, and so I'd love to, like, that would be one. I'd love to, like, have another day with her now,
Oh, tell me, when you think about her, what's the best memory that comes to your mind?
Oh God, she had this car that she used to drive us around in, and I was like, and my first car when I was 16 was the exact same car. It was like this 1982 Ford Escort, like this little maroon hatchback. I mean, this thing was, and my grandmother's car. Like I remember, we'd be driving around in that, and back then she's smoking her cigarettes and stuff. We're getting the secondhand smoke and everything. Windows rolled up. I mean, that was just how things were back then, And like the muffler was falling off the car and like all that. But she would have gone to the ends of the earth for us. And so like that's kind of like my greatest memory of her is regardless of, the secondhand smoke and and the car that was falling apart, the unsafe car that was falling apart while we were in it. I mean, I don't know. For me, it's funny. It's something that I can. Sure. And she was a terrible driver too. Like she ran over like 2 of her dogs without even knowing it.
Oh my God!
And then one of them she ran over twice. One of them she pulled into her driveway, didn't see the dog, ran over the dog, didn't even realize she ran. And this was a big dog. This was like a German Shepherd. And my step grandfather, because she, divorced from my paternal grandfather, my step grandfather just came out and, was yelling, "Oh my God," like, "You just ran over the dog." She thought he was telling her to back up. So she backed up over the dog again.
Oh my God.
But the dog lived. The dog lived.
Amazing.
Like they're supposed to. And yeah.
Funny story. I'm sure whatever she's right now, she's smiling about it.
Or rolling her eyes that I'm telling the story.
Next question for you is, what is your funniest memory of a date that you had?
I had never really had a bad date, like I've been on, like in all my years, going on dates and stuff like that. None of them had ever been really bad. There were, obviously I've been on dates where it was like, where I just, wasn't into the person as much as I thought I was going to be, or vice versa. They weren't into me. But there was one in particular when I first moved to Colorado. I went on a date with this guy, and it was actually a second date. So this was like a second date. And he met me at my house, at my apartment. This was back when I had my apartment. And so I was like, oh, like I had him come in and whatever. And he, and my dogs were there. And my big girl, I have a big Great Pyrenees. She took one sniff of his hand and beelined it in the opposite direction. And my dogs do not do that. My dogs love everyone. They, have never come across a person they didn't like, but she took one whiff of his hand and was like, nope, nope. And I was like, ooh, so then I actually went to dinner with this guy. Well, in the middle of the dinner, we're just talking, shooting the shit and whatnot about random stuff. And I was talking about how I actually remember I was talking about how reliant and dependent we have become, you know, as humans on technology, on our phones, on this, and how I feel that we're losing the ability to actually like communicate with each other and look each other in the eyes and have a conversation, like, you know. And it was just kind of like that was just I was just sharing that as my opinion and maybe going into a little more detail. And he got so mad and was like, "You can't say that." I mean, I don't even know why. I have no idea why he was offended or anything like that. But he like yelled at me in the middle of this like restaurant over it. So I mean, I look back at it now and I think it's hilarious because, you know, he has texted me since, like, and this was like 3 years ago. He's texted me since up until about a few months ago, still like trying to want to get together. I'm like, no, no, no. Like, what part of that last date we went on made you think that I was ever going to hang out with you again? Like, no. So I guess that would be like my funniest date story. Because I haven't had any where like something super embarrassing happened or like, you know.
It's funny. It's fun that your dog kind of, you know, somehow.
Oh, my dog knew. My dog knew.
Wow.
I mean, if I don't trust many people and many things that happen, but I trust my dogs. I trust what my dogs tell me. That makes me sound like a crazy person.
No, I know. I understand. Dogs, they, you know, animals overall, they have this sixth sense feeling. You know what I mean? They know when people
Right.
they are, you know, right or not for the moment.
Yeah, she knew. She was like, "There's something wrong with this guy." Yeah. Usually, it takes me. Yeah, that I will say. Over the years, it has taken me a little bit longer. I'm a little late to the party sometimes when it comes to realizing that, oh, this guy's not. Yeah, but that was the night I was like, okay, yeah, this isn't going past this. So,
ready for the last one?
I am.
Last question. Before the last question, tell me a little bit about your career as a bodybuilder.
So, I actually used to be, or like growing up and up until like young adulthood into my early 20s, I was actually really overweight. And I was up to about 300 pounds at one point at my largest. And I had like, I had a 46-inch waist. And like, I mean, I was a big boy. And in my mid 20s, I kind of, that's where I really kind of decided to make that change and just, you know, get into, it wasn't specifically bodybuilding, but it was just like, okay, well, let me just start exercising. And I would run. I started running every night, you know. And, you know, throughout, after that, like, as time went on, it got more into like, okay, I want to do weightlifting. And then, you know, like, then that went on for years. You know, I have a passion for it and everything. And then about 2 years ago, I met who is now one of my best friends here in Colorado. And he's the one that kind of got me into competing and actually doing like really doing bodybuilding. And so that's when I kind of got into it. You know, and I love it. I mean, it's the one thing in my life where it just kind of checks all the boxes. It checks all my boxes. It's something that I love, that I'm passionate about, that I have fun doing, that, you know, causes me to be more disciplined. And I'm pretty routine and structured and everything. And this allows me to kind of give myself that. And, you know, and the community is a very supportive community. You know, everybody, we all look intimidating and scary, I think, to a lot of people, because it used to me, but some of the nicest people I've ever met are, you know, other bodybuilders and stuff like that. It's because it's difficult. It's hard. It's a complete lifestyle change. It's a complete, like, you have to really commit to a different lifestyle than everyone else lives, you know. But I've been seriously, you know, like it's been about a year and a half since the last time I competed. I'm competing again in August. So I'm working with my coach Robbie now, and he's amazing. And we've got about 4 months left to get this stage ready. But I'm excited, and then, you know, like I love it. I love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I would give up anything else in my life, you know, except for this. So
very good. Last question for you is, what makes you the saddest?
What makes me the saddest? Okay, so it's a toss-up. I can't watch movies where dogs die. I cannot watch movies where the dog dies at the end. It's just not happening. You know, I guess a lot of what makes me sad is, especially over the last few years, the state of the world and the division that we're experiencing between, you know, between the human race, between like demographics, between races, between, you know, because of sexual orientation, because of different beliefs, just because of different beliefs. It's like, I mean, it's pretty sad the state of the world as it is now in that regards. And then the other thing that makes me the saddest is being as far apart from my boyfriend as we are, and doing this long distance thing it's awesome, but it's hard. And there are some days where, you know, being apart seems unbearable, you know.
How far he's from you? Where he's based?
He's in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's about, I want to say it's like 1,000 miles from me. I don't really know. But we both, the great thing about it is that, you know, like he's based in both Louisiana, but then part-time in Los Angeles too. And then he comes here, and, you know, like we have the ability to be able to travel and see each other every few weeks, but it is every few weeks. And sometimes, you know, after a couple of weeks, it's like, God, you know, it's hard. It's hard. I really end up missing him a lot. So
sweet. Right, it's not the end yet. Let's play now the word association game. Okay, I'm going to give away some words. Just one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking, okay? So, I hope you are enjoying the interview. Before we do the word association game, don't forget to give a like, don't forget to share this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Just click on the button right there. Thank you so much, and enjoy the word association game. Family.
Brother.
Money.
Success.
One word for love. Love.
Love. Unconditional.
Life.
That's a tough one. The one word that comes to mind for life is say fun.
Okay.
Make it fun.
Sex.
Huh?
Sex.
Awesome.
Politics.
Terrible. The opposite of awesome.
Religion.
I hope I'm really gonna offend someone. The word that comes to mind is bull. Sorry.
Fear.
Fear. Fear. Hindrance.
Friendship.
Important.
Desire.
I'm gonna go back to sex on that one.
Good one. Success.
Uh, Happiness.
Wish.
Do.
One word for happiness.
One word for happiness. Fulfillment.
One word for Maine.
Maine, as in like where I'm from.
Yeah.
Humble.
One word for Colorado.
Terrible drivers. That's 2 words. That's 2 words, but they're awful. They're so bad here.
I was
So bad.
I was expecting that. That's funny. One word for USA.
Oof. Discombobulated.
And the last one now, bodybuilder. One word.
Determination.
Like that. Let's pretend now I'm going to meet your best friend, the one who lives in LA. Yeah. And I'm going to ask him, define Todd in one positive word and one negative word. What he would say.
Damn, I don't even know what he would say. I just talked to him last night too. I think he would say, as a positive thing that, that I'm hardworking. I think as a negative, he would say that I am I would say he would probably say that I am too hard on myself. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Let's play now, Todd, in the magic box, and you can ask me a question. Hey, Todd, from Colorado, you can ask me a question now.
Okay. When you were a kid, what was your dream career, and where did you see yourself?
Okay, I'm gonna share with you a very interesting and funny story. When I was growing up, I was, I think, 6 or 7 years old. My teacher in school, she gave all of us like a questionnaire, with like random questions, asking about ourselves, what we like in life, this kind of things. And I remember there was a question, what would you like to be when you grow up? Do you know what was my answer? I wrote down, Michael Jackson. And she, next day, she collects all the answers and everything. Next day, she called me in her desk. She said, William, come here. I said, what? She said, William, did you understand this question? I said, yes. And she said, but why did you put Michael Jackson? And I said, because I'd like to be Michael Jackson when I grow up. And she was like, yeah, but Michael Jackson is not a profession. So she tried to explain to me that I could
Tell
be a
that to some of the guys on Hollywood Boulevard, of the impersonators.
So she kind of tried to explain to me that, I could be a dancer, I could be a singer, I could be a performer, but Michael Jackson, it was a person. When I understand that, but it was funny. I remember, I think she talked to my mom as well, because I had a memory that at home, my mom talking about that. And I think she contacted my mom to try to explain to me, because I didn't want to take it. I was like, no, I want to be Michael Jackson. But anyway, back to your question, I think as a child, a teenager, I wanted to be, a ballet dancer or a performer. I always been connected with arts, I always been connected with, acting or dancing. All those, for me, I always been fascinated as a young boy. So yeah, that was my passion. I remember at the time, my goodness, I couldn't hear. Remember Lambada when came out Lambada? Remember Lambada in the 80s? The Brazilian Lambada. Remember? Anyway, so I'm
from Maine. I'm from Maine. I'm, like I said, I've traveled a lot and done a lot in my adult life, but as a kid, I mean, we're very uncultured.
I'm gonna send you a link of a music that was very big in Brazil. I'm sure you kind of gonna remember in the 80s. So yeah, I think all of that, like this, being an artist at the time for me was like a passion. So yeah. Todd, did you enjoy the interview?
I enjoyed the interview very much, yes. Yes.
Thanks so much. Thanks for being so open, and thanks for taking the time as well on Fridays, almost the weekend. Thanks so much for taking the time.
I know this was a nice distraction from work. It was great.
Oh, before you go, if you can share a positive message or something that you live by.
Be so good that they can't ignore you.
I like that.
And that's a quote from Steve Martin, actually, of all people.
Amazing.
I never thought that would have come from him, but it did. And that's one of those ones that I like to live by.
Amazing. Thanks so much. It was a pleasure connecting with you, and we keep in touch, okay? Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why would you like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye-bye. See you next time.